If you know me, you'll know I have a soft spot for all Rovers, but I'm still going to try and be as impartial as I possibly can. Okay. First of all, the Mgf came out, and that was the first proper MG car since the 70s, since they did those proper MGs driven by men with moustaches. This, of course, is the Mgtf, which replaced that car. Now, many would think it's just a mild facelift, but there is a bit more to it. It's not just new headlamps and a new bumper. There were loads of revisions, most of which are too boring to talk about. So let's talk about the main things. First of all, gone was the hydrogas system for the suspension. And that's a pity because that was a very, very good idea. But it was obviously cheaper just to put some springs in. The usual things with tweaks here, interior changes, slightly different rear bumper. All of it is rather insignificant, really. They most definitely did not give you a brand new car. But that's fine because the old one was really good anyway. The Mgf ran from 2002 to 2005. But then they started making it again in 2007 in China. But that's China, and this is Great Britain, unless you're watching from China. The Mgf is a roadster, and that means that it's made for two people, not four. Also, note that the engine is in the middle. It's called a mid-engined car. It's very good for balance. In fact, the Mgtf, as the F, are known as being one of the finest handling sports cars you can buy. So what about the engine? Well, the engine is a K-series. In fact, it doesn't matter which engine you have, it's going to be a K-series. There's no such thing as an Mgtf diesel or an Mgtf with a Peugeot engine. It is simply a K-series of different sizes and different power outputs. My personal favourite is the 1.6. It's also the lowest powered, but it is the least vulnerable for head gasket failure. I've gone and said it, head gasket failure. The K-series and the notorious head gasket failure issue. You see, for one reason, the head gasket can be fixed, and then it shouldn't really be a problem. And they can be fixed without a huge bill. You could probably have the head gasket fixed in one of these for less than it would cost you for a set of tyres. Anyway, shall we forget about head gasket issues? Because after all, it's a boring topic, it's not really funny, and it's not even that relevant these days anyway, because most of them have all been sorted. The K-series is perfect for a car like this because it's high revving, it's really whizzy, it's lightweight, and it's got enough power. The 1.6 only has 115 brake, but that's more than enough. The 1.8 is about 120. Then they did one with that automatic gearbox, which does actually seem a bit strange. And then they did the powerful version, the 135, a 1.8 with different cams. And then they did another one, a 160, that's 158 brake horsepower, that actually has the variable valve timing. 160 brake horsepower sounds good, but is it really necessary? Well, that's up to you. Like I said, I prefer the 1.6, and that's not just because I've got one for sale. I'm not going to pretend that the Mgtf is fantastic. Well, it is fantastic. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't have faults, because it does. The first one is the roof. They seldom manage to stay dry on the inside, and ideally a hard top would make more sense. Either that or just give it a garage to live in. Then of course we do have an issue with corrosion. The sills mainly. The sills can rot, and then they can rot badly. That's something certainly to look out for. Wipers suddenly not working. Demisters not working. Handbrake not really working properly. And the clutch can have problems as well. Leaky boots, they're known for that as well, but that's just a gasket issue. Gaskets. Corrosion, we're back on that, because the other really big problem can be the rear subframe. They are prone to falling apart, and once that starts to happen, you need to replace it with a new one, and that isn't particularly cheap. What outweighs all of this stuff more than anything though isn't the car, but other people. I'm talking about thieves, because the catalytic converters on these do get stolen. Very vulnerable for being stolen, so if you buy one, try and put it somewhere with the back against the wall or something, because they're not cheap to fix. It is worthwhile having a good look underneath one of these if you're going to buy one. The problems do tend to be where you can't see them. The coolant pipes that run from the engine all the way to the radiator at the front, they can corrode. Same with brake lines. What about the price? What is the price of an Mgtf? Well, it's kind of in the territory now where it's whatever you want it to be, because you can buy one like this that needs an MOT for about £500 or £600, or you could spend as much as you like. Go on Car and Classic, you'll see them up to £10,000 for one of these that a few years ago was worth 50 pence. But somewhere in the region of about £2,000 should get you a half decent one, depending on where you look. Unfortunately, that's going to be Facebook Marketplace.